Hey everyone, today we'll be talking about the first time I ever built an electric guitar, and I went through Warmoth. So let me introduce you to this beautiful Tele body. I picked an all mahogany body with P90 route, I picked the black to clear burst, and I got the Carina laminated top and the black burst on the back. I always wanted a Les Paul style guitar, but the headstock honestly kind of worries me, so I decided that I really wanted to go with that 4-knob setup. So I have 2 volumes, 2 tones, and a 3-way pickup selector. Can I just say how much I really like that black to clear burst from Warmoth? It lets that black Carina pop so nicely, and on the back, I really dig that mahogany grain going on. So at this point, I'm sure you're wondering what I did wrong. And I can assure you I did something very, very wrong, and you definitely do not want to follow suit. So I guess you'll just have to stick around and find out. I also wanted to mention that this is not a tutorial. I just wanted to share with you guys, and I'm sure there are a lot better people than I to teach you if you really want to build a guitar. Having said that, I'm excited to dive in and share what I did with you all. First things first, if you want your body to keep looking nice, I would get some painter's tape. It can be the blue one like here, which you often see, and I would just tape up your body. You never know what kind of things can get on your body. There can be solder, you can hit it with a screwdriver. To be honest, I don't really care. I did scratch up my body a little bit during this whole process, and I was never one to really mind any damage to my body because I figure I'm just gonna throw it around the house anyways, so I do think it is a good precaution to take though. Now we're gonna move on to electronics. For the pickups, I decided to go with the StewMac P90s because they were on sale, and I decided to go with the CTS pots as well as the Switchcraft 3-way jack. For the bridge, I decided to go with the Gotoh 6 saddle bridge as I wanted something closer to the Les Paul tone rather than the twangy traditional Tele tone. For the soldering iron, I actually went to my local Harbor Freight, but if I were to do it again, StewMac actually sells some very affordable and quite good soldering irons. They also sell the quote-unquote hookup wire, which is basically the wire you use to solder all your connections. While I was soldering, I was wearing a mask. You could even open your balcony if you've got one or use a fan to keep the fumes away. When it comes to soldering, you'll find people on the internet saying all kinds of things. But there is one thing that most people will agree on, and that is do not blow on your joints. I'm sure many of you already know this, but for those of you who don't blow on your joints as they can cause what is called a cold solder, which would render your connections ineffective and therefore you could get a lot of crackling or simply no sound when you plug in your guitar. For those of you who might be struggling with soldering, getting cold solders, and getting burnt potentiometers, I'm going to give you a few tips. The only reason I'm even comfortable giving you any tips is because I met this fantastic tech at Sam Ash Hollywood. Shoutouts to Sal. But anyway, one thing you can do with your potentiometers is take them and lightly sand the backs. You can do some digging around on the internet to check for what sandpaper you'd like to use, but it doesn't really matter. What I would advise though is to be careful of sanding the lugs on the potentiometers, as I wasted 1 or 2 pots sanding too much and I broke the pots. So for the lugs, definitely go easy. And by lugs, I mean the little 3 metal points on the potentiometers. Doing this can actually make your wires stick a lot better to your pots because the pots come from the factory with this high gloss on them to keep them looking brand spanking new. You're not going to do much damage to your pots unless you overdo it, so I would take it slowly. So this next tip is not the ideal thing to do, but if you do it right, it gets the job done, and if you're struggling, this will help you out a lot. Say we're talking about 2 wires. Ideally, you'd want to tin your iron first, then tin both wires each, and then connect them with the soldering iron while running tin over the top. However, this can be quite a bit to handle, and if you're really struggling, you can try opting out of running the solder at the end. As long as your iron is tinned and your wires are tinned, you should have no problem getting a good connection if you do it properly. Personally, I struggled so much and got so many cold solders trying to do it the ideal way, and this really helped me, so it's really up to you. The second way also made things way easier for me because I had a free hand to hold one of the wires using pliers and I wouldn't have to worry about it getting really hot. I used one of Seymour Duncan's wiring diagrams on their website and it really made things a lot easier too. I don't have footage for this part, but you're gonna need a drill or a Dremel for the strap buttons as well, if you want strap buttons on your guitar. Next, I did the string ferrules, and here you're probably gonna want a rubber mallet and maybe a wooden block of some sort, although I used the top of a candle jar. I should also mention that I don't have footage for all parts of the build. I figured it would be helpful to cover some of the parts that a lot of people find tricky. The last things for me were to put on the hardtail bridge and then screw in the saddles one at a time. Moving on, we've got our finished loaded body, and now we're gonna screw our neck onto the body. I had ordered a used Warmoth neck from someone, and this one was beautiful. Brazilian ebony. So I've got a little clamp here which can be helpful when you're screwing on the neck. And I've only got the guitar stood up to show you, but I would recommend keeping it down on the table. So I put the neck plate against the neck pocket and clamped down on it such that the holes were still exposed and I could screw in my neck. This isn't a must thing to do, but it really helps to make sure your neck goes into your body straight. Thanks for watching. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This was not the end of the build actually. So I realized that I had my pickups wrong. I actually had my pickups not screwed in. I had mistakenly thought that I could just leave the soap bar P90s in there. To be honest, this was my first time with soap bar P90s and I just didn't know what to do. I was so used to humbucker covers or single coils with the pick guard. I realized that these soap bar P90s needed to be screwed into the body, and that is where I screwed up big time. I read online that a lot of people mounted their soap bar P90s to foam. So they would put the foam in the space where the pickups are supposed to go, and then mount the pickups on top using screws, and that way you can adjust the height of them. So I had some foam from Seymour Duncan pickups that came with the packaging, and I put them inside the cavity. I should mention now that the pickup screws were very, very long, and I'm sure you can see where this is going. Trying to account for the space that the pickup would need, I drilled through the body. I drilled all the way through the body to the other side, and it destroyed me. I found out from Sal afterwards that it was also because my foam was so thin that I wasn't feeling any resistance when I was drilling. I just hope that you don't do the same thing and have to see that same painful sight. It just goes to show that your first build will never turn out exactly how you want it. Thanks for watching.